Hi students, I'll talk about Sailing to Byzantium today, which is a skillfully framed poem by William Butler Yeats. Like The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, this poem also captures the dark and gloomy picture of present generation, which is devoid of ethical values and spirituality. Being a part of this generation, poet needs an immediate upliftment of soul so that his soul could find salvation. The significance of art, culture, and security in older age also find voice in this poem. Byzantium was an ancient city of Rome, which was known as an abode of art and Christianity. So, leaving this world behind, which is caught in a sensual music, our poet wants to start a spiritual journey for Byzantium and join holy sages there. Look at the stanza now. That is no country for old men, the young, in one another's arms, birds in the trees, those dying generations, at their song, the salmon falls, the mackerel crowded seas, fish, flesh, or fall. See, alliteration is here. Fish, flesh, or fall, commend all summer long, whatever is begotten, born, and dies. Caught in that sensual music, all neglect, monuments of unaging intellect. Here, poet is worried of his old age. Of course, the insecurities of elderly generation are represented in these lines. Here, he finds that in this huge world, no comfortable room is left for old men anymore. Except Yeats, who is going closer to his death, all are enjoying their physical existence. Yeats finds everyone celebrating transient youth and temporal happiness. Youths are celebrating their youthful days in each other's arms, and birds are singing mirthful songs from the trees. Yeats calls them dying generation. So the context of mortality will remain throughout this poem. Now Yeats cannot sense spirituality in the celebration of youths and in the songs of birds either. The song of bird is also singing about those things that are transient. Everyone has kept the idea of God, afterlife, and immortality aside and has indulged himself in physical and sensual pleasures of all kinds. But this celebration of temporal is not confined to human world, which has been represented by flesh, or animal world, which has been represented by fall in the fifth line. But the ecosystem of water is also participating in this festival, which has been represented by fish in the same line. Salmon is a fish and mackerels are sea creatures. This poet says that all creatures of water, sky, and soil are singing for temporality of material things. Obviously, all these creatures are destined to share their part in the life cycle in which a being is destined to be begotten, means to take birth and to die. See, while reading W.B. Yeats, we must remember a fact that Yeats was influenced by the Hindu philosophy as well. You must have heard such lines in Bhagavad Gita, wherein Lord Krishna preaches about the immortality of soul and says that our death is just a decay of our physical body. The soul transmisses from one body to another, so it's like putting on a dress, use it and change it when it gets tattered. Monuments of unaging intellect refers to the eternal properties of our mind and soul. Indeed, the arts, literature, and other achievements can be taken as immortal as they do not die when their creator dies. These eternal arts cannot be designed by those who lack spiritual insight. Such timeless works have capacity to enlighten worldly souls, but they are neglected by the majority of generation who has preferred to listen sensual music only. Look at the next stanza now. An aged man is but a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, unless soul claps its hands and sing, and louder sing, for every tatter in its mortal dress, nor is there singing school, but studying monuments of its own magnificence. And therefore I have sailed the seas and come to the holy city of Byzantium. See, this stanza puts forth Yeats' personal insecurities about his age, but it also presents a harsh reality of human existence as well. Old age, though not desirable, but is inevitable to everyone. Paltry means worthless or trivial. These words denote insignificance of old age over the entire lifespan of a human. People treat elderly men as worthless to them. Now, to make his idea clearer, Yeats uses a metaphor of a scarecrow. You might have seen scarecrows in farms. Actually, to save their crop from birds and animals, farmers make scarecrows. It looks very funny when we look at its appearance. So the structure looks very awkward with a strange appearance and loose clothes heaped on it. Well, by comparing the physique of an old man with such a scarecrow, Yeats is apparently expressing his agonized condition due to the suffering of his old age. But every disease has its remedy, so Yeats has also presented a remedy for this intolerable existence of his life. Though an old man's existence is not better than a scarecrow dressed in a tattered or damaged coat, yet still there are things which can soothe him even at this part of his life. This impoverished condition of elderly can be compensated by the spiritual revival, which overlooks the physical appearance and has capacity to vitalize your disappointed soul, and it supplies eternal joy to soul, which will make you wave your hands in open air and sing with spiritual pleasure poured inside you. This spiritual revival enables us to see the tears of our coat as a hope for getting a new and better coat. Next stanza. O sages standing in God's holy fire, as the gold mosaic of a wall, come from the holy fire, burn in a gyre, and be the singing masters of my soul. Consume my heart away, sick with desire, and fastened to a dying animal. It knows not what it is, and gather me into the artifice of eternity. See, Yeats is pining for the deliverance of his soul from the shackles of his physical body. Many scriptures look at death as a gateway to another life, which can be a rebirth or afterlife. It's a common belief that soul experiences spiritual ecstasy when it lives with the Almighty, and it happens when the soul releases itself from the circle of nature. Circle of nature drives our soul to continuous births and deaths. This cycle can be broken with the noble deeds, and breaking of this cycle means achieving deliverance of soul, which is called salvation in Christian, nirvana in Buddhism, and moksha in Hindu. Here Yeats who is anxious about his life, cultivates the idea of moksha or salvation. Sages standing to God's holy fire refers to the sages, hermits, or ancient monks who devoted themselves in God's service, or painters or writers who manipulated their artistic talents to paint or to write in God's appreciation. Yeats has seen these sages on a mosaic picture, and now he is conjuring them up to help his soul in finding deliverance from his body. These sages lived in a spiritual life, therefore, they are able to enjoy the company of God with his holy fire. Holy fire stands for immortality in Bible. It keeps all beings vitalized, and these sages have enabled themselves to assimilate this holy fire within them. To get rid of the utter disappointment Yeats has been feeling, he invokes sages and pleads them to come out of the holy fire and shake his soul to its deepest ends. Burn and gyre are frequently found images in Yeats' poetry. Both stand for spiral movements. He wants these sages to descend from heaven in his heart in a spiral motion and move it loudly, so that he could feel the surges of spirituality. This is how Yeats is praying for a spiritual revival of his soul. The agony of Yeats can be understood by the fact that Yeats is not asking God for a gentle revival of his soul. He wants a strict and a harsh treatment with his contaminated soul. Now, Yeats wants to start a spiritual journey of his soul, which should be guided by those who have mastered this adventure, means the sages. As the sages are some highly spiritual souls who can teach Yeats to sing the songs of eternity. See, Yeats doesn't want to sing the songs of a dying generation. His songs belong to the eternity. As I told you that for the upliftment of his contaminated soul, Yeats is ready even for a harsh treatment with him. So he suggests sages to have no mercy on his corrupt soul, which has been seduced by the shallow and transient physical desires. He expresses his contempt with his physical existence spoiled by selfish bodily desire by using the phrase dying animal. So his situation is no better than a selfish dying animal who wasted his entire life in gratifying his bodily needs. Of course, our scriptures also say that a man who has overlooked the cultivation of spiritual values is like an animal. This is why poet wants sages to erase all physical desires from his heart that have been restraining his soul for his spiritual development. The eradication of these desires would result into the recognition of soul's supreme powers. By gaining this knowledge, the poet would be able to gather the bliss of eternity. Now quickly move on to the next stanza. Once out of nature, I shall never take my body from any natural thing, but such a form as Grecian goldsmiths make of hammered gold and gold enameling to keep a drowsy emperor awake, or set upon a golden bow to sing to lords and ladies of Byzantium of what is past or passing or to come. The visionary aspect of Yeats' nature is quite visible in this stanza. Here Yeats says that once I am out from my body, I would never try to take another birth on earth. Out of nature means out of nature's cycle, which drags souls. To be begotten means to get produced, to be born and to die. Yeats has known the value of soul's solo existence as an independent part of universe, and this knowledge has produced him a disgust for earthly life. Yeats again turns towards art's importance in cultivating spiritual values. He says that it's better to become a piece of art means something which has ability to inspire people about eternity than to be confined into a temporal body. He alludes the ancient goldsmiths who used to design a golden bird for the monarchs of Greece. These birds are believed to be very beautiful and they were very dear to the kings. Perhaps kings used to spend their nights gazing at the beauty of these golden birds. See, here is a symbol. We can take soul as a king because we can't forget the fact that Yeats was influenced with Upanishads also. Upanishads are gist of Vedas. Here in Upanishads, soul is interpreted as a king, body as his kingdom, and sensual organs as his servants. So, if these servants are loyal to the king, that is the soul, which itself is a part of that great soul known as the God. So, if these servants or senses remain loyal to soul or to God, they will help in the upgradation of soul in the record book of God. While on the other side, if these servants become loyal to body, they will surely ruin that soul. Hence, we can say that in this stanza, king refers to soul, and the golden bird that keeps the drowsy emperor awake means the soul which is sleepy and becoming unconscious of her actual worth would be continuously alarmed by this bird. Thus, we can say that instead of taking birth as a mortal being on this earth, poet wants to become something like this golden bird that can inspire others for their spiritual development. So, leaving this mortal world of dying generations behind, poet wants to sail to Byzantium, a city which symbolizes eternity in this poem, wherein, like this golden bird, he would inspire others to achieve eternal bliss with his gifted sight to see past, present, and future. This is because the soul exceeds all the limits of physical when it mingles with the Supreme Soul. It's the highest stage of spiritual revival which supplies godly qualities to a soul. So, this quality to transcend time and power to journey across all time zones is the consequence of this great collision of soul with the Supreme Soul.